Well, this month we're going to talk about different ways of connecting with spirit. This is something that I've kind of played around with on my own, and I'm going to share some different ideas with, I would call, the established, well, what would I call this? This is the pristine version of mediumship, and connect also with my own version of what I do generally, and several ways of using those abilities. It'll give you a chance to decide what it is exactly you want to do with your psychic medium abilities. And how you want to incorporate your gifts. So, starting with the pristine version of mediumship, of course we know that is communicating from a living person with the spirit of a person that is in the heavenly spheres and has passed away and left the physical body. So it's communication. You are the go-between from earth to heaven, and the ability to bring back verifying information from that particular spirit, whether it is a loved one, well, generally speaking, yes, it would be a loved one that you would be communing with, to bring verification to a grieving member of the family, or a friend. So it's the direct connection between you and the spirit in question. We don't, there's, even in this version, there's two ways of looking at this. We can specifically say we're sitting with Mary, and Mary wants to speak to her deceased husband, John. And so we're putting out there that John connect with us. To me, that's conjuring, or specifically trying to make that spirit communicate, when in reality that isn't always the correct way to do it or the most beneficial way to do it. And I don't like the idea of forcing the connection between you and a specific spirit, unless it's, your spirit guides, and that's something different. But we're talking about just kind of going out there on a lark and saying, hey John, are you out there? Mary wants to talk. You want to connect. And to me, that's a little scary, because you don't really know who John is, or if you're connecting with the real John that Mary is connected to. So, there's some thoughts about that. But if you've done your protection, if you have a good relationship with your guides and you feel comfortable and have trust in them, then that process can happen properly. And there are even nonprofit organizations, scientific organizations now that talk with mediums that can connect with specific people on the other side. They validate whether these connections are proper or legitimate. So there's a growing number, again, from what it used to be in the late 1800s, early 1900s, where mediumship is strictly connecting with a specific spirit on the other side for validation, and recognizing that there is life after death, validating that. And these particular organizations are scientifically and doing research on that ability. And that is a very special way of mediumship working in its pristine value. If that's what you want to do, there are certain steps that you want to work with, especially in your development meditations. And these, of course, you would start off with your protection and connecting with your guides and telling them what it is you're wanting to do that particular session, and learning how to open up to that ability. You may have certain steps that you like to follow to get into that vibration. And when you are, I'm going to back up a minute, because there's also the way a lot of well-known mediums do it now. They don't ask for a specific person. They may be working with Mary in a session, but they'll sit and ask their guides, who is here that wants to speak? And knowing that when Mary came in, she brought spirits from the other side with her that may have more information, may have a better connection at that time with the medium, and maybe John is stepping back and letting them talk for him. So this is the way I would assume that most mediums will work, and I feel like it's a little more honoring to the spirit world that you don't demand, John, come, but whoever is here in Mary's behalf, would you like to step up and connect? And so I'm going to go on then with the steps that you do in your meditation. You get connected and have your guides work with you to prepare this space, and then ask, who is here that would like to speak? Now, if you're just doing this without your preparation ahead of time, you don't know who's going to come in. You may be inviting the wrong element into your session, and you don't want to do that. So it's very, very important that you start off in a sacred manner, a respectful manner towards spirit world, and make sure that your guides and your guardians are working with you to prepare that space and allow only the proper entities to come through. So you ask, who is here that would like to speak? And with that being said, there may be one that comes directly forward, and you may sense a fragrance, a color, maybe a visual of maybe a pair of glasses, a vest or bow tie, a pipe, a certain kind of handbag, and then you say, okay, I recognize someone here with a handbag. This is an old-fashioned, maybe 1940s type of purse that has this little snap that opens up, or clutch, or go into the description of it in your mind, or speak it out loud. And then don't let that be all. Say, how are you connected to Mary? Or if you've chosen someone that you're practicing with in your meditation, then you say, well, how are you connected to Mary, or whoever it is you're working with? And by posing questions like that, you narrow the input. It's much more focused and isn't just spread out all over the place, because this particular spirit may be sending all kinds of information and you're getting bits and pieces and things that don't make sense, and it's all scattered. So by posing questions and saying, well, thank you for stepping up, we'd like to continue this connection and bring validating information from you to Mary. And you would maybe pose another question, well, how are you connected to Mary? And then look for whatever feels right as far as connections. You may see a favorite aunt of yours, And so you say, okay, I feel as though this is a relation and this is an aunt that is stepping up. That's the way this spirit feels to me. And then wait for your kind of validation, maybe a shiver down your back, or some kind of a positive affirmation, a confirmation that yes, this is an aunt that is stepping forward. And so you can connect the two things. I'm seeing an era around 1940 because there was a special purse that I saw, or a handbag, and I feel like this is an aunt, related in an aunt's vibration. And it doesn't mean that it's a bloodline aunt. It could be a neighbor or a friend of the family that was called Auntie so-and-so. So you have to look for how this is all connected. Don't try to make it fit. Just say what it is you're getting. And then say, thank you for that information. We'd like to get more. What type of work did you do while you were here on the earth plane? What did you have a career? Or was there something special that you accomplished in your life that we can share with Mary? And then wait for, you may see a woman sitting down writing on a desk, and you may think, oh, well, that looks like a secretary, or a correspondent, or a journalist, or a writer, a novelist. And whatever comes to you, just say those things, and don't make it any more than that, but just let it be. And then after you pose a few questions like that that would be pertinent to the relationship and the recognition, or you could even say, can you share with me how you made your transition into the spirit, how you left the physical body? Quite often that'll be very vivid, because many, many spirits hang on to that experience because it's very important. That was their birth back into spirit. So they hold on to that experience. And you may get something similar to them holding their heads, and you get an impression of aneurysm or stroke. You may feel like your throat is tightening up, or there's a band around your chest. You get some kind of sensation. You may even see a car accident in your visual. So just say those things. So the more the more you start working with this pristine version of mediumship, you will be able to create your pattern of questions that helps you work with the spirit that's coming through. And each question may get deeper into the connection that, say, John has with Mary. So start off with easier questions, the things that you can recognize quickly, to help you and John get connected with that technique. So the more you do this, the easier it will be. You may want to start with, just really sitting down with a piece of paper and thinking of the order in which you want to ask these questions. And kind of get a feel for the way you want to do it. Go over these questions over and over, and at different times during the day, so you get a sense of how that spirit will connect with you in the easiest way, so that you both recognize that it's a true connection. And then go on to the next question, and so on. Somewhere along the line, you can ask, what type of name did you use in that incarnation, or how did people call you? What did you have a nickname? Was there a special surname that was used that we would recognize? You don't have to just blatantly say, what's your name? because sometimes that throws up a block, and it's hard to just come up with a name. But there are usually nicknames or pet names that a loved one will call each other, or a family will call. Like when I was growing up, even though my name is Melissa, my sisters were younger and they called me Sissy. So I could say that if I was in spirit and my sister was there waiting for me to communicate, I could say Sissy, and they would know that that was me. So you can put that in there. I wouldn't use that as the very first question. Sometimes, if the spirit is familiar with coming through, they'll say, "Hey, my name's John Smith. I want to talk to Mary." It'll come in like that, and you don't have to worry about your protocol of questions. But I've found over time that it's easiest to pose questions to the spirit and wait for the answers, rather than just sitting openly and waiting for something to come in, because you can wait a long time. So the more you work this and practice it in your meditations, or practice it with people in reality, if you have people that allow you to practice your gift, then do that. But your protocol of questions will come easier and easier as you do that. Now, if you're just sitting and waiting for someone to step up, that can take a while for you to get to John, because there may be Aunt Susie comes in, and Grandma Smith will come in, and you'll have to go through all those people before you actually get to the spirit of John. So asking who would like to step up first, is the best scenario for you to do that. Now, the other option then, and it's something that I choose to do most of the time, is that I don't want to get so deeply involved with the spirit on the other side, because quite often you'll end up connecting to someone that may have committed suicide, or have been in some terrible automobile crash, and you take on those feelings and sensations. So what I do is I prepare it with my guides, and I have a specific guide, my doctor, that I ask to gather information about that spirit. And so I am indirectly connected to the spirit in question, but my guide will start to gather information and funnel it to me, and I can then share it with my client. And I find that, for me, is a very easy way to do it. It feels safe to me, and I can easily do this comfortably, especially when I was working a lot of expos and conferences, and I would have 15-20 minute sessions, one right after the other. It was easier for me to do it that way, just because I wasn't jumping in and out of people's or spirits' vibrations. That can be very draining if you're doing it on a regular basis like that, and it actually can pull on your personal energy and drain your health. So if you're thinking of doing this one right after another like that, it's very beneficial to you to work very closely with one specific guide and have them gather information. And that's something else that you can do in your meditation development. Each time you sit for meditation, ask your guide, "I'd like to gather information about so-and-so in spirit," and then wait for them to funnel things down to you. You may have to have a pencil and paper and write notes as you get information, and then go over it again after your meditation. But I find that to be the best scenario for me. and I thought I would share it with you. Quite often this opens up then while you're working with Mary. It can then easily slide into back and forth, either a psychic type of reading that goes with this, a counseling type of reading, and you can slide back and forth with this information and your guide still connected to John's information, but you're not directly working with John. So if you are directly working with John's spirit, you want to stay there and complete that, I'll say complete that transaction, and when you're finished, then completely shut off from it, cut off that vibration and disconnect. You may even say out loud, I am now thanking John for being here with us. I am completely disconnecting from him and wishing him well, sending him on his way, so that it makes it very clear to you and to John and to Mary, who is your client, that you're done now. Don't ask me to jump back in there again, because that is what can be draining and confusing to John. I mean, he says, well, I thought I was done, and here you are calling me back again. So there's some, ideas about what you might want to do with this. I find that the way I do it with a filter, gathering connections that way, it also brings in emotional things for my client that she may want to deal with, and I can work on a counseling mode and look at past and present and future events, mediumistically, but not directly connected to John. So it opens up your options of working several different ways. But know that when you talk about mediumship, there are many who just do mediumship readings. And when the client comes, they connect with John and bring in every bit of information from John. Now, it might take a while to actually get to him. So a mediumship reading can last an hour or more, depending on that connection, if it's readily available, and how easy it is for you to start, moving into that scenario. So you have to set that up with your client and let them know this is what it is. This is what my mediumship reading is. I'm only going to be connecting with those on the spirit side. This is not about counseling. This isn't about something in the past. This is not a psychic reading, and then that person, that reader will offer also usually a psychic reading, and there'll be maybe even different prices, different time frames. Some readers only do psychic readings on one day. Then the next day they may offer mediumship readings, so they know that they're in different modes. So kind of think about these things as you're moving forward in your development. I want to always give you information to make you think about what you're doing and how you're doing it. So I'll leave that with you, and I enjoy having you here with me.